I'm Mary Kelly Sheehan.
And I'm Bailey Dassow.
And today we're going to talk about the Persian psychological horror film, Under the Shadow, and its themes of family struggles, misogyny, and war and its effects, as well as how the film elements enhance these themes and overall atmosphere of the film.
Now, the first of these topics that we're going to talk about in the first theme overall is the family dynamic shown within the movie, and specifically the family struggles and the tension we see, because they play a huge role in the driving of the plot and, in the film overall.
Mm-hmm. The first relationship we're going to focus on is between the mother and the father. The mother is like the main character in this movie, but they have a very tense relationship from the get-go. He repetitively talks down to his wife, especially after her exemption from medical school, because of her opposition during Iran's cultural revolution.
Mm-hmm.
She was taking part in the leftist protest against the traditional Islamic practices, and she's very much a feminist throughout this whole film. I mean, hence her going to medical school when most women didn't work at the time. Her husband very clearly didn't support this, and he criticized her as a mother, also, not just a student and a citizen.
I mean, yeah, at one point he casually tells her to shut up, whore, on the phone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know that in this day and age, I wouldn't accept that, but it just really shows how women were treated and looked at back in the time, even though he's just an ass on his own.
Yeah. I mean, it really just displays, like, the misogyny in the culture at the time, which we'll discuss later on. But, it's just a whole different world they are living in. And, this exemption from medical school and the way her husband treats her, along with him being drafted into this Iran-Iraq war, is all the driving force of what causes her to neglect her daughter, Dorsa.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, this neglect is not intentional. She's not a neglectful mother, the whole time. It's only once she is piled on by all the stress, plus the trying to get the safety. She's just trying to figure out how to manage this war-torn time. But this neglect really does have an effect on Dorsa, as we clearly see her relationship that she gains with the demon.
Yes. This relationship with the demon and the daughter Dorsa, it happens because of the neglect from her mother. And this is why she becomes acquainted with the demon, as it takes a womanly figure and becomes almost a second mother to her.
Yes.
This figure continues to put a rift between the mother and the daughter, because things become lost around the house and they'll blame each other. And it's really the demon, which the mother eventually realizes, and how much worse that is than just losing a doll.
Yeah. She is so overwhelmed by the time. Her first thought is to blame the daughter.
Mm-hmm.
However, she just doesn't realize at that point that it's a supernatural force that's trying to take over this motherly role and, kind of...
Yeah, because that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
who would have thought?
The daughter, kind of make her do what she wants to pull them apart even more. And, the tension already there doesn't make it any harder for the demon.
Exactly.
Overall, this dysfunctional family relationship we see between the mother and the daughter and the father and the mother show how these war-torn conditions, of the political climate, their location, and just how their family dynamic is in general can and have affected many children, including Dorsa, as we see, their upbringings and just how they are in the future.
Yeah, generational trauma is very real.
Yes, it's a big,
it's a big factor in this movie.
Yeah, exactly.
This brings us to our next topic about the movie, which is how the location, the time period, cultural beliefs, and political climate impacted the film in many ways.
Now, as we know, there is the huge Iran-Iraq war raging on. We see the husband get drafted, and, we already have seen how much extra pressure and stress it puts on Shade, the mother, and how it affects the whole situation with the daughter and the demon and everything.
She basically becomes a single mom for however long, hoping her husband doesn't pass away at war, even though he's an ass to her.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's the only way at that time she can get the financial support, because as a woman, she's not able to do all the things a man can do. Yeah.
And she was kicked out of school.
So she has no other way any way to turn. That's her only option.
Her husband did demand for her to go stay with his parents, but she's so fed up with his bullshit that she declines in order to stand any little power she has left in their relationship and any control she has over the situation.
Yeah.
And this ties back to the constant misogyny. She clearly was a feminist for this day and age, and
she's not afraid to stand up for what she thinks is right. We see that with her protesting against traditional beliefs, because she believes as a woman she should have the same rights.
And the misogyny is based in her religion.
Yeah, it's based in Islam.
Because not saying that if you're Islamic you're necessarily sexist, but
it's just
a lot of things that a lot of the ideals they live their day-to-day life off of become sexist.
They feed into the misogyny that many people have in that area and culture already have. It just builds.
Like how they're building, the guy who owns their building was like talking about someone parking wrong and comes up to their apartment like, your wife is the only one who drives, so I don't know who else this could be.
She's like an example of, what most women don't do, but yet since she is that, everyone immediately points to, oh, if there's a mistake, it has to be her.
Yes, exactly. Like, a woman should be scared of exposing herself more than anything else is another line from this movie. Because, again, you cover yourself as a woman who's Islamic, but they make that the standard, and they take it to an extreme level.
I mean, at that point in the movie when that's said, she's running in terror away from the demon and everything, and she doesn't have her, coverings on, and that's what, the hijab, and that's what's said to her. I mean, how is that more important than
living?
Life?
Yeah, exactly. It was very die-hard mentality when it comes to that, and it really shows their priorities.
Yeah, and it shows that it's not just
like you wouldn't be caught dead without your hijab, literally.
And it's not just her husband, that treats her that way. These examples show that it's the community. I mean, her being expelled from the school, if someone else protested those things, would they have been expelled if they were a man? We don't know. It's her as a woman, just makes it, the misogyny more clear.
Exactly. And just also it ties back into the location and religion, obviously, but
and the time period.
Yes, of course, the time period, but also I don't even know what it's like in that time period, or in this time period where they're from.
Yeah, it's a whole different culture and a different, ideas that we don't know here.
It really adds to the horror, though, because I'd be horrified just to live in a place that would rather me die than not wear a hijab, even if that was my beliefs.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not just the horror of the actual supernatural demon, it's a horror of where you live and the people and the way they treat you,
This movie very much combines, supernatural and the natural horror, because the misogyny of their society is scary to me, as well as the war. It's horrifying, but then there's that
extra
supernatural of the demon on top of it. So it really this whole setting adds a whole nother level to the fear of this movie.
It's like my worst nightmare scenario.
Exactly. Well, now we're going to talk more about the film elements of this movie and how it enhances all the themes about the location and religion, time period, etc.
Yes.
Okay, so moving on to a film element analysis, one thing that pops out to me especially is the use of tape in this movie.
Yes.
It's very repetitive, and by this I mean she tapes her windows with an X every night or every day because of the war going on, and if any explosions it happens, it's supposed to, minimize the damage.
Yes.
And the tape is peeled every single day, and I didn't understand this at first until later on in the movie, because it starts off, I'm pretty sure, with this, but it's symbolizing that they're protected and everything, but it's peeled every single day, which is tape doesn't just peel off a window.
No,
it's definitely the demon, and that's almost its first showing in the movie because it's the first thing it affects and does. But it really made me think because I didn't understand why they had tape on the windows before.
Yeah.
But it's another combination of that supernatural and natural elements playing off each other.
It draws attention to, you know, the way they're trying to protect themselves, even though there's only so little they can do. But it's also showing how, even if they're protecting themselves from the outside, there's stuff within that they can protect themselves.
Exactly.
And just themselves.
They can only really do so much to protect themselves. And the same is shown when we talked about the items becoming lost.
Yes, which includes the doll and the workout video, which are both items that mean so much to the daughter and the mother. Mm-hmm. They're comfort items, and you know, once they're lost, you know, they're lost. You know, we see the daughter, the mother eventually decides that it's best to go stay with the husband's parents, but Dorsa, the daughter, refuses because she can't leave without her doll. That's her item of comfort. You know, her losing it is like a loss of herself, a loss of her life before.
And then they tear up the entire apartment looking for it, and she's like, "Mom, where'd you put it? Yeah. Where'd you put it?" Like, and then the element of the demon woman figure, she's
flipped their world upside down.
Exactly. And these items, and then the mom lost her workout video. Yeah. And blames it on the daughter misplacing it. She's like, where could it possibly be? Because that's the one thing we also see very repetitive is the mom's always doing her workout video. Yes. And when the workout video is misplaced, she knows the workout. She does it herself without needing the video because she uses it that much. But
it's her constant. It's
their comfort.
They've lost, you know, their sense of normality, their sense of who they were before. And, you know, the way the demon has that tear them apart almost gives not only a loss of comfort within their items, but a loss of comfort within each other because they kind of feel like they can't trust each other because you must have been the one that's taken it from me.
Exactly, because no one else is here except this other womanly figure, which the mom doesn't even know about.
Yeah, so the mother's like, it has to be my daughter that stole my thing.
Yeah, everyone has their comfort items, I feel like, and when that's lost, all sense of belonging and comfort,
you know, normality, you know, how your day is before is gone.
Yeah, and one of the other elements that I thought was interesting is the lighting, how the demon clearly can shapeshift since it shapeshifts into that womanly figure, but it towards the end when the mother is finding out about the demon, it shapeshifts to the daughter. And so the mother's chasing after what she thinks is the daughter, but it's the demon. Yeah. But the whole lighting of it all, it turns their apartment into an empty space. Like, you can't see the end or the sides. And I feel like that really is unsettling because it's just not what you expect. It's first the daughter isn't the daughter. Yeah. And then the apartment isn't the apartment. You don't even know where you are. It's like the whole world was flipped upside down.
It's really nothing is how it seems. It's everything is different. It's, you know, seeing the characters down this dark, this empty space is, you know, terrifying. It really centers on just them, but it also centers on how, you know, the world around them, not even just their apartment, is unknown. They don't know what to do. They don't know. Now they don't really know what to do within it.
Yeah. Everything's constantly changing, and she's really realizing the control she doesn't have, like the mother is, over the situation. And like, I also think how throughout the movie you hear a lot of wind noises. So when they take away that background noise, it's almost more effective than if they had it silent the entire time and added noise. I think taking away really, it takes away that element of like control, and it makes you just think and look at what's going on.
And it also just adds to the eeriness, the scariness of their environment and, you know, everything around them. It's freaky.
I agree. We're gonna move on into our last theme, which is just an analysis of the movie title and overall summary of everything.
Yeah, it holds so much within just the title.
Exactly. Okay, so moving on to the movie title analysis. The name Under the Shadow itself implies that this whole story is behind something. It almost reminds me of You Never Know What Happens Behind Closed Doors, that saying.
Yeah.
Because this film represents all things in the background or forgotten. Like all the effects that, like I said, the natural and the supernatural have together in this that you wouldn't think about normally, like
the small things,
the plot and the war and all of that.
I mean, really, the family is kind of a background to this major war and supernatural thing. Yet in our eyes, they're the center of attention. But
it's just an inside look to one's family's experience, and everyone's experiencing that at that time. Not necessarily every condition, but you understand what I mean.
Not necessarily the demon, but the war, yes.
Yeah. And just, it all ties back to the sexism and the family relationships behind the war.
Yeah, I mean, it's, the misogyny is underlying. It's not necessarily surface level, but it's kind of like, in a way, under the shadow, but it's there. But you don't often just see it. But times like the war and the protests, they bring out the misogyny. They bring out the worst in people.
I think that this name could apply to so many parts of the movie because the daughter becomes under the shadow. She becomes neglected.
Yeah.
The mother neglects herself. The whole demon. I mean, everything.
that is what's under the shadow. It's the things you don't see. When you hear about war, you're not hearing about a small family. You're hearing about, well, who bombed this and who did that.
How many died, not one person.
Yeah, you're not hearing about, the trauma of a mother being, contained within a society, not able to break out of the box and do what she wants. You're not hearing about a daughter being neglected.
You're not hearing about a mother being kicked out of school for her beliefs.
Yeah, protesting what she believed is correct. I mean, it just kind of shows the underlying religious conditions, the underlying traditions, the misogyny, all of it.
I think that we really don't think about that because we live in a time and in a place, America, where you want something to be said, you say it.
Yeah, it's nothing's typically under the surface. Everything's said.
Everything is said here, exactly.
Whereas here it's kind of like, you think it, but you don't say it. So her saying
you sweep it under the rug.
Her saying it's such a big thing.
Yeah. They sweep misogyny under the shadows. They sweep everything.
Yeah.
She sweeps the fact that her husband will tell her to shut up for under the rug because she has to.
It's just not talked about. It's
it's not common. What we're used to.
Yeah, it's common for them, not what common for us. So when we see it, it's a shock. For them, it's just another day.
Exactly.
But I mean, there's a lot more within the film that has underlying meanings just in the names. Yeah. The daughter's name, Dorsa, means precious and beautiful. It's an innocence.
Yes, exactly. Like she is the main innocence in the movie between the demon and the mother and even the father.
Yes.
Even though he's not super present.
Yeah.
But
she has no control over what's happening. And even though sometimes she seems like the monster, it's really just these other forces using her as a puppet.
Exactly. Under the shadow.
Under the shadow. Yeah. And they're hidden within her. Her precious, her innocent self is just a shell.
Exactly.
For them to take over. And and even the mother's name, Shade, means the sun, and we see her as the center. But
sun, shadow, it's all connected.
Yeah, it's honestly her name meaning sun and the whole under the shadow, they parallel. It's they're opposites. It kind of shows how she opposes
the shadow.
The shadow, the shadow of misogyny, the traditions. She goes against it all.
Yeah, she's trying to get out of it.
Break the mold.
Exactly. Well, overall, this movie is very complex and compelling between the misogyny and the family ties.
All the symbolism.
There's so much symbolism. I think that that's what us analyzing the name shows.
Yeah.
Is that just about
anything can mean anything more.
Exactly.
Nothing's surface level.
Nothing is surface level in this movie.
Yeah.
Because it's just things we never would have thought of.
Yeah, and it's a whole different, it exposes us to a whole different culture and a whole different,
lifestyle.
Yeah, and thought process that we
thought
don't
process,
have. Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
Like women not driving. That's crazy.
That's...
And just, there's so many more things. But overall, it was very complex and compelling for all of these reasons. And we hope y'all enjoyed listening and can't wait to hear your thoughts on it.